Welcome to another episode in the KIPS podcast. My name is Tyler Valencia. I'm the president of KIPS and Time to Train Fitness. I have a guest and a topic that I have been really jazzed about. If you know me in our IRL, in real life, you know that I have been really enthusiastic about pool workouts, working out in the pool and seeing what it has done for me. I have Robert Mitchell from HydroRevolution on the podcast. He's going to be talking about what he does, but also these products that he has and aqua fitness in general. Robert, first, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Let's kick it off. Can you talk a little bit about yourself, your background, what you do within the company, and how you got started over there?
Yeah, I'll fly through a little bit of the history. Grew up Southern New Hampshire. An athlete all my life. Two older brothers. Main sport was football, and played that from probably first grade up through high school and then into early college. So during that time, a lot of my fitness experience was lifting weights, a little bit of a gym rat, if you will, but also getting into more, at least in late high school, early college, Olympic type lifting, things as the industry was progressing, people were learning more and getting better strength and conditioning coaches along the way. So that was up through college. When I stopped playing football, I still stayed active in the gym through the rest of my collegiate time, and then moved out to California. That's when things started to change. Met my now wife, who was training for rock and roll marathon back in the day. And I was not a runner by any means. A mile run was like torture, something you had to do during like summer sessions for football. But as with most things, once you start doing it, your body gets used to it. You start to adapt. And, next thing you know, I'm doing half marathons, ultra marathons, 50 miles. So things just snowballed over a few years' time. I was still hitting the gym occasionally, but a lot of my time, with running races up to 50 miles, a lot of your time is going to be taken, that is your fitness. So that was all great. My wife and I were doing that. Then came our first child. At that point, I lost my running partner. She stopped running, just did cardio at the gym and some weights. I got a little antsy, wanted to try something different. Hey, CrossFit, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
But what you hear, the horror stories with CrossFit, about a month and a half into it, front squats fail. And next thing I know, I'm pretty much, damaging my back, herniated disc in my lower back. And that led to, CrossFit's not quite what I can be doing. I'll continue running. Okay, now running hurts. All the things I was used to. Okay, I'll just go back to the gym. Okay, the workout went all right. A couple of days later, it just gets tighter and tighter. Then my back goes out again. So that was my condition for a few years. It was just, I would kind of push through things, have it flare up, wait for it to settle down, get back into stuff. And it was just this constant cycle, over probably the next 5 to 7 years. Wasn't as bad as in the beginning, but it was just a constant. So during that time, I had been running some businesses on my own. And when I met with a small business advisor, he mentioned a company. He's like, "Do you have any free time to do extra shipping on the side?" I'm like, "Yeah, I could ship a few more orders here and there." He's like, "Well, I'm working with this aquatic, equipment manufacturer called Aqualogix. They're looking for someone to help out with the operation side. Would you be interested?" And next thing you know, I have Aqualogix equipment in my garage and getting their orders and helping them ship orders, which was kind of probably about 3 or 4 years of doing that for them. But honestly, during that time, still not using the equipment. The owners at the time got me in once or twice, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see why people like it. But for whatever reason, I was just stubborn. I would not pick this up and go do it in my own pool, YMCA. I mean, I had access. I mean, I lived next to the beach. I could go there, YMCAs, all these places where I could have easily just jumped on in,
Yep.
but just stayed stubborn, kept doing my own, cycle where I'd go to the gym, get hurt, try running again, get hurt. So it actually took a few years, believe it or not. And it was interesting. We had a call with George St. Pierre. This was fast forward a couple of years after working with Aqualogix. They ended up getting purchased by a company out of New Zealand, Aquastrength. And at that point, we had two brands. We needed a way to bring them together. And that's where we launched HydroRevolution, basically an umbrella name and training system that could use the various brands that we were then, selling.
Yeah.
But, this industry was kind of stuck in, everybody knowing the foam equipment, buoyancy equipment. It's just, we were kind of something else, but people didn't really understand what it was, who could use it. So we decided at that point with HydroRevolution is we need to change perception. There was definitely a stigma out there about working out in the pool. I was part of that, and maybe one of the reasons in the back of my mind why I wasn't comfortable maybe going to the YMCA and jumping in front of people. So what had happened is we realized, so George St. Pierre, MMA fighter, UFC champion. I was talking to people on the phone and they're like, yeah, George recommended some equipment and blah, blah, blah. And next week later, hey, George recommended some equipment. And I'm like, okay, George is doing some sales for us. We need to talk to George. So we ended up getting in touch with his agent and set up a call. And literally 10 minutes of just George kind of going through and selling us on, why he uses the equipment. He got into it based off an injury, which a lot of, I'd say the upper level athletes, that is how they're getting exposed to aquatic training at all. But he realized, once he was in there, yes, it helped him rehabilitate, but he was just blown away by the functionality, the way his body could move in the water. And being an MMA fighter, it's all about movement and control and, arcing motions and all this stuff, where there's not a machine in the gym that's going to put you through that range of motion. Even cables are still somewhat, directional as far as how you can use them and where the resistance is going to happen.
Yep.
In the water, it's 360 degrees of being able to pretty much be yourself.
Agree.
So George was heading to a podcast with Joe Rogan in LA. And we're like, we got to meet up. We got to figure out how we can work together. We basically rented a place up in LA that had a pool. We picked George up. The owner flew up from New Zealand. We basically met George, picked him up at a hotel, went out to this location. We got in the pool. I'm like, George, show me what you're doing. And he starts going through his routine. And I'm in the water. I'm like, I'm trying to keep up with them. And again, it's all about intensity. We can have the same weight and everything else. And, we're about the same size stature wise, but obviously he's, much more in shape than I am. But even he was complimenting me. He's like, wow, your shoulders, what are you doing? I'm like, well, George is complimenting my shoulders.
Oh, GSP.
Must be doing something right.
Yeah.
But literally he kicked my butt. And he's like, this is what I do. I'm like, well, we need to get this on paper. This is a program we need to be able to package and sell to people. And that was kind of the start of our, utilizing ambassadors to really help change that perception. They have an audience that respects them. And luckily we've worked with really good individuals who really aren't people we've gone out and, found them on a, message board or anything like that. A lot of them are coming to us being like, I've been using your equipment. I believe in this. Is there a way we can work together?
Awesome.
So it's really great, having a brand and then hearing these high level athletes say, this is helping me. This is my, secret weapon. And those that are willing to, make it public and, just work with them and again, help spread that awareness. So that's been great. I'd say on the flip side is, yes, now you have pictures of George and Vitor and all these guys on the website. And then you have your other base, which is the, more the geriatric, the aging population, who the equipment is great for, but then they see them on the site and they're like, whoa, okay, maybe I'll go back to the foam. I'm a little scared off because I'm seeing this person making all these waves in the water. And so it's definitely a balancing act of, showing that you literally can have 4 generations in the pool, all working out, even the same pieces of equipment, all doing the same movement patterns, just at their own, pace, their own tempo, and they're all going to get the workout level that meets their capabilities.
Oh yeah.
The water's super adaptive in that way. So,
oh yeah, I'm sold. I was already sold before we pressed record, but yeah. I think that you hit it on the nose there with the perception. That is something that myself, I have been in the fitness industry for 18 years. That's what I say in my YouTube videos, 18 years. And still, when I tell people over the last few months, people that know me, friends, I'll tell you, yeah, I've actually been really jazzed about working out in the pool. I do it after a session in my gym, or I'll even go out for a recovery day in the pool. And some of them will crack jokes at me. Oh, you want your light weights? Here, you with your shower cap. They still have this perception out there of aqua fitness. Yet in my mind, I know, and I think I like how you said it, that you could be using the same weights, everybody the same tools in the pool, and they're still going to be able to get benefit from them. I like what you mentioned there about that, because it's so true in the pool, and the way that resistance works in the pool, with something that we discussed before we jumped on with the perception, but also how customers are reaching out. What has been the difference between a experienced fitness instructor that has an aquatics background versus a newer fit pro that maybe saw one of these celebrities or one of these fitness instructors on social media? What are those conversations like when they call in?
Yeah. So like you said, from an instructor level, you have the 2 different worlds that they live in. One is at the pool, already in the pool, already has clients in the pool. And now they're looking to either get a different demographic, maybe in the pool. Maybe, hey, there's a lot of people up in the gym watching us down here that they're not going to do what the class I'm running right now. They know that, they understand that. So now they're looking for something that, again, someone could look at and be like, oh, what are they doing now? They see barbells and dumbbells and other things that, kind of get someone's interest level perked up. So they might be looking to bring in new clientele, maybe have some more sessions that they can offer, because more sessions is more money.
Exactly.
Or they have their clientele, but they're looking to get them, I wouldn't say something better, but just, you need to change things up. People plateau, people become stagnant, and, just kind of go through the motions. And I'm sure if anybody's watched an aqua fitness class, a lot of times that's what it can look like. There's some more talking than working out. They're still doing stuff that's great for their body, and kudos. They're getting in there. They're doing a lot more than
100%.
You don't see showing up.
Yep.
But now if you can add some different tools, start to integrate that, you're going to give them more benefits than just using the buoyancy. Buoyancy is great, but you could literally have the option there. So if they're getting in the pool, you can grab those, buoyant dumbbells, or you can try something different. I have a few sets here. You can start to incorporate it and do a lot of the same movement patterns.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And in a more recent podcast episode that I did, I talked about that element there of adding more sessions if you are a fit pro. And the story that I told in this podcast, that maybe somebody's has already listened to it, and you have to forgive me if you have heard it. But when I first started in the industry, there was this gym, the gym that I worked in. There was this long hallway that went down, and then on the right-hand side was the men's locker room, left-hand side was the women's, but in glass was the pool. Okay. And I just imagine myself as a young trainer working there and working with somebody in the pool. And if somebody walks by, 100%, if somebody walks by and sees a fitness instructor working with somebody in the pool with these tools, with the hydro dumbbells or the water axe, the swing trainer, or any assortment of the things that you guys are offering, somebody's gonna be like, how do I book a session to do that? It is appealing, and I don't want it to come off that this is at all gimmicky, because it is a fantastic workout. That's why I'm so jazzed about that. And that's why I've been starting to create more content in the aqua fitness realm, is because I can see the benefits, the health benefits that you get from these types of tools, these types of workouts. But from a Fit Pro, I think we're hitting it right on the nose that it is a great way to add another session to your week.
Right. And getting to the land-based trainer that's looking at this for the first time. So obviously there's a big conversation. We have a lot of products on our website. So sometimes that can be overwhelming. What do I need to get? From a basic standpoint, if you're just training one-on-one, you have one person in the pool, you only need a set of bells and a set of fins. Then you could do full body workouts. You're talking about $100 maybe. And you're able to give someone a full body workout, cardio, strength training, mobility, everything, with just a set of bells and a set of fins. It's that simple to get started. Yes, we do have other pieces, much like, depending on the clientele you're working with. If you have a golfer, swing trainer, that is a tool that visually they'll be interested in, because it kind of, you can swing it like a golf club. Baseball player, you can swing it like a bat. We have the short version, the racket trainer, which is basically just a half handle version. But we found out pickleball players, tennis players, the swing trainer had too much torque for them to hold with one hand comfortably and do a lot of their racket motions. So now we have the short version, allows them a more comfortable grip. They can still put two hands on it, but they can also do the one hand, backhand, forehand. So things like that really resonate. And if you're working at a club that has a big tennis or pickleball group, you have clientele. I mean, you can market directly to them. Hey, are you injured? Are you a tennis player, pickleball player that's injured? Are you new to it and afraid that physically you're not going to be able to do what you see other people doing? Well, let's get in the water, work on it for a couple of weeks or a month, build up some of the muscle groups that you'll be using, hopefully keep you from getting injured. Because CrossFit to middle-agers is now pickleball for the older generation. As far as you get out there, you're like, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life, I'm going to kill it. And they end up, looking up from the ground and being like, what did I just do? And, you don't want that, but, life happens. And as a trainer, if your client is now injured, obviously you work with them, through that injury, but having access to the pool and some tools to help ease them back in sooner rather than later is another way to look at it. But, I've seen land-based trainers do full-on boot camp style, where they're in the water, and depending on the setup, sometimes they're getting out of the water. They're doing, walks with kettlebells, like lunges, the length of the pool while other people, so their station set up. And visually, and the workout that these people are getting is just incredible. It's really up to the instructor and the vision that they have to, create these routines. Yes, weather dependent. If it's an outdoor pool, there's some variables that go into it, but the sky is the limit as far as the people you can have that you can be training, whether you want to target youth athletes, geriatric, the aging population, athletic performance, weekend warriors, or you can go the group fitness style. And if you want to learn choreography and do that, there's resources out there that we can point you to. We're developing some of our own group fitness, what we hope to launch to the group fitness world, to make that turnkey as well. Not everybody likes the choreograph type music background, dancing in the water. Great workout, but not everybody's jam. Personally, I get in, I'm HIIT style training. Chest, shoulders, bicep, tricep, all this stuff, but it's intense, quick, 25 minutes, I'm done, feeling good. And literally, I have not really lifted weights in the gym probably in the last 10 years or so.
Wow.
But still seeing some of my friends that I've known throughout, the last 10, 15 years, over the holidays, man, you're looking great. What are you doing? You're staying, buff on top, blah, blah, So it works. It's legit. As you said, it's not a fad. It's not a gimmick. I mean, Hydrotone, one of our newer acquisition brands that we got, they've been around since 1990. Dallas Cowboys had them in the early 90s, back when they were winning Super Bowls. So I think something happened. They got rid of the Hydrotone gear. Things have fallen off. I need to send them some new gear because that's my team.
A quick little promo break here in this episode. If you're a fan of the KIPS podcast, you know that at some point there's a promotion for the Naboso Duo insoles. I just pulled these out of my shoes, gave them a quick rinse to get the sock dust off of them, and I wanted to talk about them because they're great, they're fantastic. They make an impact on your daily life. If you sit at a desk or if you're on your feet, sometimes your feet just feel achy, or maybe they feel like they went to sleep. That's for myself. With your clients, with your family, with your friends, share them, talk about them, see what they think, because they really do make a difference. If your feet feel more active, you're gonna be more active, and that equates to being more healthy. Check them out, there's a link in the description, see what all the products they have, and let's get back to this episode. Yeah, I like what you mentioned about with the swing trainer and the shorter one. That is what I have. I have the swing trainer, and that is what caught my eye. Exactly what you mentioned with participating in sport. For listeners, I used to compete in these things called the Highland Games, where you're throwing rocks, and used to wear a kilt and all that kind of stuff. And within that, and as an athlete or even a weekend warrior might have the same mentality if you are playing tennis, pickleball, or golf, that you are looking for any type of advantage. You are looking for anything that helps you with your swing. And I can tell from when I've trained individuals that were big golfers, the second I would introduce any type of rotational exercise, immediately the lights go off and you just see their eyes light up because they're so excited and they see, ooh, maybe this is 5 yards extra on my golf swing, or maybe this is me playing more games tennis, or this is a better serve in tennis or pickleball, whatever that might be. The lights start to go off and the eyes light up, and it's one of those things where it's fun too. You are giving them the ability to train endurance rotation, but also learn about contact with the ground inside the pool. So there's so many features that you can offer, and use it as a selling tool. That here is what you are offering as a fitness instructor, and providing them a different way of training that most likely, maybe if you are working in a gym of 10 trainers, maybe you're the only one that's offering that, which is such a huge benefit there. And so continuing on with kind of our conversation with perception and how things have changed over the years, with yourself working with a company that has acquired and grown over the years within this space, how have you seen this perception changes? Well, what are some unique things that you've seen over the years?
Yeah, I mean, it's been difficult changing the perception of basically a worldwide view.
Yeah.
I'd say America, the US is a little bit behind. South America, especially Europe, Japan, areas where aquatic fitness has been a little bit more mainstream. Mm-hmm. So the US, is a great market for us just based off of the number of swimming pools and everything else. So you think, okay, this is a huge market. Everybody can benefit from it. How do we get this onto every pool deck?
Yeah.
Luckily we have this little thing that popped up recently called the internet. So it's really been a help, as far as trying to drive awareness. We're a small company still. We can't, target everybody, but we can still use social media to our advantage, to try to get that awareness out there that the pool is not, yes, it is for injury. Great. Yes, you should be in the pool. It is for people that have, I'd say metabolic, disorders or other things. Yes, the pool is a great place to be in. There's so many reasons to be there, but you don't need to have one of those type of reasons. It's really for anybody.
Yeah.
So what we have noticed is, you were mentioning the tennis and, pickleball, golf. So when we introduce these tools, we kind of introduce them because we know it works. But once we get it out onto the market, then we start getting the feedback from, professional coaches and trainers and these biomechanic kinesiologists, kinesiology experts that say, hey, I've been using this tool. I'd like to work with you guys to develop a program around XYZ. So we're not necessarily saying, here's the tool and here's the only way you can use this. Anything else, it's not what we condone. It's, here's a great tool. Here's some ways to get started with it. But once it gets into the right hands, it just it blows their mind about, wow, I can use this with my current clients, my current athletes, my current, members. And, it just kind of opens up the floodgates allows them to diversify even on that card, because, hey, there's 10 trainers offering these land-based function, workout sessions, functional training. But this one offers functional training and aquatic functional training. Well, there's the 1 out of the 10 that offered something different. And now, yes, I can still get the other stuff, but this is of interest, and they've marketed in the right way, shown that, they can specialize it towards pickleball, tennis, golf, some of these sports out there. Or, hey, we have a lot of members that have teenage kids that are involved in athletics. I have a teenage daughter that's involved with athletics. I got a young son coming up behind, and I hear kind of what they're doing in the gym. And I'm like, all right, that sounds good. But okay, you're saying it hurts to do some of that. Okay. Well, it'd be great if, not every school has a pool, but getting some of these younger athletes, and it could just be a personal trainer that you then send your child to, that can do functional training. They can build power, speed, flexibility, mobility, all these things that are going to translate to the court or the field, but they're doing it in a safe area where they're not pulling something or hurting something, because again, their body's developing, the muscles haven't fully developed. And then if you have maybe an old school trainer, no pain, no gain, that can, lead to some things that, an undesired outcome, if you will.
Yeah. So. The creativity element that you were talking about is something that is very true with working with these tools. And I like what you mentioned about you as a company. You guys give, here is our product, here is some suggestions. I remember when I got my swing trainer, which at the time was I think it was called the Water Axe, or Hydro Axe, something along those lines. There was a little pamphlet in it with some sample exercises. I was like, oh, okay. I tried all these, but then all of a sudden your brain starts to kick in as a fitness instructor, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to try this and this, and I'm going to try this single hand. And I mean, the last time I used it, I was on the deck, and I'm drawing a blank on what my wife calls it, but at Disneyland, they have the canoes where the people are going across it. So that's what she calls the exercise. So like we're on the deck and we're rowing off the side of it, and your mind just goes into how else can I use these tools? And that is part of the fun of doing HIIT style workouts, where you could be using a variety of tools. Dumbbells. I also use the VIPR Pro in the pool, which is really fun for me, having those and seeing different uses for them. And that is part of the creativity of being a Fit Pro, that you can pull in these tools. And it's a good way to introduce a new client to say, oh yeah, we're going to bring some of these tools that you're familiar with. Now let's try it in the pool and see how they can interact with the environment, and how they start to discover, oh, wow, like this can be nice on my joints if they have had any type of injury, but oh, this is challenging on my core. This is a cardiovascular routine that I'm going through that is getting my heart rate going. Oh, I love how I'm going quickly from exercise to exercise. All these things you start to check off. And that, I feel like, is part of the theme of this episode we're talking about, is the evolution, not just within the industry and the perception of aqua fitness, but how instructors can evolve their training programs to incorporate things like this. And, I think with all of this, and how we've talked about the different tools, and we've talked about the swing trainer. I always wanted to call it the HydroRex or the water axe. We talked about the swing trainer. We talked about the dumbbells. What are some of the other unique items that you guys have developed over the years?
Yeah, so the other big one, I would say more of it's a reverse evolution. So Hydrotone is the brand that we acquired about 2 years ago. I actually refer to them. They are the OG brand. They were the original gangster brand from the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And their bell, it's more of a rectangular shape, was just a beast of a device to move through the water. But it had such a following, even you would think, okay, it's, your maximum resistance piece, ultimate resistance. You're like, that's just going to be for the huge individuals, the rugby players, football players. But no, you had these, little petite grandmothers that are like, no, those are the ones that I've been using. I need those. So it was like, oh, okay, really? And they're like, yeah. And again, it's just at your own pace. But they enjoyed it because sometimes they might move at a slower tempo. They don't want to be in with something small and having to move fast to get resistance. They want something larger that they can move slower, but feel that drag all the way through, even at a pretty slow tempo. So the Hydrotone bell was something we relaunched about 2 years ago. It's been extremely successful. And we've taken it a step further. So we basically have historically had our Aquastrength barbell, which is a 3-foot or 4-foot bar. The 3 foot's the standard, works for most everybody. But it's a medium resistance piece. So, it's great for cardio. It's very versatile, arcing motions, rowing. But we would get customers that are like, it's just not enough. Well, if you tried it with one hand, you can do one hand push pulls. They're just looking for more. Some people just want always more. So what we did is we took the existing Hydrotone bell and created an adapter piece that anybody that's had these bells, and they've been selling them since 1990 or 89, you could take your existing bells, because again, they last forever. Buy these adapter pieces with the barbell kit, and you mount the adapter pieces into the bells, and then it allows you to pop the bells on and off a bar. So now you have this ultimate barbell device that people could use. And I would say that has leaned more towards the stronger individuals. But we still see a lot of existing Hydrotone customers that are like, oh, yep, I'll definitely try that. I still have my bells when I want them. Otherwise, I can pop them on. And now I have this device. And again, it just opens up maybe 2 or 3 new exercises that they can do in their routine. And sometimes it might be mimicking a sled. So you have this big barbell device and you're just pushing it across the pool, and maybe backwards, you're dragging it backwards across the pool, just back and forth. So these, what seem like simple motions, but when you have that drag and the current and the water, they become very, full body movements that if you do it for a few minutes, you realize, how intense and how much, you're actually utilizing your body. And for some people, that's the best thing. Then they get on land and they feel great. I mean, walking on land is easy compared to walking in the water.
Agree. I like the suggestions there. And what I would say for anybody listening to this, and I know that we keep hammering this away, that how impactful these workouts can be. If you are wanting to put a more visual touch to it, head over to their Instagram. You will see so many examples, and you'll probably see some of the names too, of some high level celebrity trainers or even celebrities using this equipment. But you'll get some suggestions. There we go. That you'll be like, oh wow, that does look like a fun exercise. Oh wow. Oh wait, you could do presses, you can do pulls, you can do all these different types of exercises in the pool, and you start connecting the dots. Like that would be my number one tip for anybody that's listening to this and might be hesitant as a fitness instructor. Just go check out their Instagram. You'll literally just start running with ideas in your head about all the items that we've talked about. I do want to get to the podcast takeaways now. This is a chance for you, Robert, to provide some insight into the question here that I'm about to ask you, but take it however you want. What are 3 myths about aqua fitness?
I'd say the myth is, when you look up aqua fitness, one of the first things you'll see is low impact. So some people get that word in their head and they're like, low impact, and they think that not effective. If it's not impactful, what am I doing it for? So low impact, obviously, in this case means you're not damaging your joints as much. You have the buoyancy aspect of being in the water. So low impact does not mean not effective, not hard, not challenging, not able to build strength. So all these things that, people think, well, I get in the water, I'm not going to get, you said I'm not going to get sore, so I'm not going to build muscle. You don't need to get sore to build muscle. It's just different types of muscle contractions, concentric, eccentric, soreness isn't a necessity to get gains, especially power. In the water, how many pounds is that? Well, yeah, we can try to equate pounds, but it's more about just force development, working through complete ranges of motion. So yes, it's not just for the injured. It's not just for elderly. It's not just for swimmers. But those are the things that, we hit on. And as you mentioned, some of the ambassadors and trainers that we work with, the Ben Brunos, the DeRolks, Lexi Kelly, who's might not be the big name there, but, as far as a competitive swimmer and utilizing a tool that we developed more from a station, not a stationary, but, normal resistance training, like you would mimic gym type movements or cross country skiing, things like that, with fins. Swimmers realize, hey, if I train with your resistive fins on, I'm getting drag, I'm getting resistance in the up kick, I'm getting resistance in the down kick. So I'm basically providing resistance to my full range of my swimming stroke. So now when I train with that, I'm building all these other muscles. So when I take it off, what's going to happen? I'm going to feel like I literally dropped the anchor, and now I can kick faster, I can kick harder, longer, all these things. And we're seeing, swimming now, a lot of swimmers are taking off with the fins.
Yeah.
So again, it's that introduce a product. We don't know exactly how it's going to be used by everybody, but there's so many brilliant trainers out there that when they have the right tools, they use it, they adapt, they figure out what's going to work best for their expertise and then who they're training. And they're going to be able to come up with something that makes their client perform better by using one of these tools. I mean, that's as simple as that. Agree.
I think you had like 7 myths in there. I couldn't keep count. Yeah. But all good stuff. And really, this type of content that's starting to come out with KIPS, and because I recorded a recent podcast in the aqua fitness realm, I hope that people start to take away that this is giving fit pros more tools to utilize. That is probably one of the biggest takeaways that I want the listeners to get from this episode. It is more things that can open up your offerings, that you can be able to provide these for your clients. And I see it as such a home run in that department and its effectiveness. Before we sign off here, Robert, can you provide some information about social media, website, and how they can get more insight?
Yeah, definitely. So HydroRevolution.com. Not HydroEvolution. HydroRevolution.com is our main site. That's where you'll have all the products listed, background information on them. But as you mentioned earlier, on Instagram, I would say is our primary channel. So HydroRevolution _fitness. And there you'll see the clips of those trainers I'm talking about, just people that get excited and want to show us what they're doing. But, you'll have big name trainers on there. Once you see someone, if you kind of like what they're doing, follow them, look at what they're doing. They'll probably have many posts on their website that just show kind of the versatility, the type of people they're working with. And it's not all athletes. I mean, people are in there showing that active aging population, deep water running, I mean, swimming, everything's being hit at some level. So as a trainer, it does certainly open you up to, a lot of, demographics that, there's not a demographic that you cannot work with in the pool. Plus they're afraid of water. You gotta draw the line somewhere.
Great stuff throughout this episode. I want to thank you again for coming on. This was, in my opinion, more than I thought of when putting together the outline for this. Provide a lot of great insight, and I know people will get something from this. So thank you again.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I guess the other big thing, made in the USA. So
yes,
you don't see that all the time anymore, but that is something that we've been, it costs more to make here, but again, you have hands-on, made here in San Diego. So I actually get to see it, the production, the people working on it. So we know what's coming out. We know what's being sent out. We stand behind the products, as you know, firsthand. So, no, super happy to be part of this company. And I thank Tyler for having me on, and best of luck with KIPS. And I hope you continue to grow and get increased following as well.